Unleashing the soft power of diplomacy, Prime Minister Narendra Modi visited Mongolia in South Korea, the two nations with whom India shares linkages through Buddhism. The visit to the two friendly nations gave a new impetus to the Act East policy of the Modi government. Seeking to strengthen the 2,000-year-old ancient and civilizational bonds, Prime Minister Modi arrived in Mongolia on a day's visit. It was the first visit of an Indian Prime Minister to the country, which has strong spiritual and cultural linkages with India. In the backdrop of the 60th anniversary of India establishing diplomatic relations with Mongolia and its 25th anniversary of becoming a democracy, the Prime Minister's visit assumed significance. Commencing his visit from the famous 19th century Gandhan monastery in Ulaanbaatar, the Prime Minister gifted a sapling of the Mahabodhi tree to the chief abbot of the monastery. He also visited the National Cancer Center to gift Bhabhatron 2, state-of-the-art nuclear medicine cancer therapy machine developed and manufactured in India. In a rare case of modern technology binding two ancient nations, the Prime Minister laid the foundation stone for the Atal Bihari Vajpayee Information Technology Center. Prime Minister Modi held talks with Mongolian Prime Minister Saikin Bileg, which was followed by delegation-level talks. Upgrading the India-Mongolia relationship from comprehensive to strategic partnership, the Prime Minister imparted a new impetus to the bilateral ties. Taking the economic partnership to a new level, he announced a line of credit of $1 billion to develop institutions, infrastructure, and human resources in Mongolia. The 14 agreements that were signed included Program for Cooperation in the Field of Culture for 2015 to 2018, MOU on establishment of Cybersecurity Training Center in the Ministry of Defense of Mongolia, MOU on cooperation in the field of new and renewable energy, MOU on establishment of India-Mongolia Friendship Secondary School, Air Services Agreement between India and Mongolia, MOU on cooperation in the field of traditional systems of medicine and homeopathy. In an unprecedented and special honor, the Mongolian Parliament was opened on Sunday, a holiday, to listen to the speech of the Prime Minister. In his address to the Mongolian Parliament, he stressed that the bonds of hearts and minds have the strength to overcome the barriers of distance.
The convergence of Buddhism and democracy provides us a path to build an Asia of peace and cooperation, harmony and equality.
Prime Minister Modi met Mongolian President Albek. After holding substantive talks with him, it was time for the Prime Minister to strike a chord culturally too, as was the case in Japan, where he played the drums. In Mongolia, he tried his hand in some of the musical instruments like Morin Hur and Yuchin. If this was not all, attired in the traditional Mongolian costume, the Prime Minister, along with the Mongolian Prime Minister Saikin Bileg, tried his hand in archery at the Mini Nadam festival. In a special gesture, the Mongolian Prime Minister gifted a horse to the Prime Minister, which was named as Kantak, the name of Lord Buddha's horse. The Prime Minister gifted a 13th century manuscript on the history of Mongols to Mongolian President Albek. The manuscript has over 80 miniature illustrations, and there is no other copy of it. In his banquet speech, the Prime Minister noted with satisfaction that in the course of one day, both the nations have given new strength and momentum to their ancient relations. The visit was short, but the outcomes were substantive and significant. The ties of hearts and minds have deepened. This is a bond that will be the eternal flame of light and hope for our people and the world. On the last leg of his three-nation tour, Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrived in Seoul on a two-day visit of South Korea, considered the lamp of the East. Soon after his arrival, the Prime Minister laid a wreath at the Seoul National Cemetery, paying homage to the war heroes. In a country where the presence of Indians is small, a sizable number of people were present to welcome the Prime Minister. Pitching for Make in India, the Prime Minister pointed out that the government initiated the program for the development of the country, besides creating job opportunities for the youth. The 21st century belongs to Asia, and no one can stop India from moving forward any longer. Prime Minister Modi and Korean President Park Geun-hye held bilateral talks. The two sides signed 7 agreements on the occasion. Agreement on avoidance of double taxation, Agreement on cooperation in audiovisual co-production, MOU for cooperation between the National Security Council Secretariat of India and the Office of National Security of Korea, MOU for cooperation in the field of power, MOU for cooperation in youth matters, Framework of cooperation in the field of road transport and highways, MOU in the fields of maritime transport and logistics.
I am pleased that we have agreed to upgrade the bilateral relationship to special strategic partnership. The decisions today reflect how seriously we take the new framework of our relationship. The Republic of Korea is the second country with which India will have a diplomatic and security dialogue in 2+2 format.
Besides, South Korea pledged $10 billion for financing infrastructure projects, including smart cities and railways in India. The PM visited the Shong-ye-shun stream. It assumed significance as it had a bearing on his pet themes of Clean Ganga and Clean India. On the last day of his visit, the PM participated in the 6th Asian Leadership Conference, which was organized by the Chosamilbo Group, where Korean President Park Geun-hye and the UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon were present. Earlier, the Prime Minister held a separate meeting with the UN Secretary General, where important global issues were discussed. Prime Minister Modi had an interaction with top business leaders at the India-Korea CEOs Forum. This was followed by some of his meetings with top Korean companies' CEOs who were willing to invest in India or have already invested in India. The Prime Minister visited the Hyundai Heavy Industries shipyard in Ulsan. It assumed significance given the fact that shipbuilding is an important area of cooperation between India and South Korea. India shares many historical linkages with South Korea, the most important one being the marriage of a princess from Ayodhya with a king from Korea in 48 AD. A number of South Koreans call themselves relatives of Indian nationals as well. Koreans fondly remember Rabindranath Tagore's poem, characterizing Korea as the lamp of the East. In fact, Prime Minister Modi presented South Korean President Park 2 finely woven pashmina stoles inscribed with the poems of Tagore. The text of the poem, published in 1929 in a Korean daily, says, "In the golden age of Asia, Korea was one of its lamp bearers, and that lamp is waiting to be lighted once again for the illumination of the East." Indeed, the elevation of partnership between India and South Korea will not only strengthen the two countries economically, but will also help to illuminate the world at large.